going on, Kings? It's Keefe. There is a major belief out there about what it is that girls like in a man, and it's this idea that they really like these like bad boy, jerk, like asshole type of guys. And in this video, we're going to discuss if that is actually a truth or not. Now, before we get into that, hit the subscribe button and bell icon. This channel is all about helping you level up and become that high value man that you were born to be. Now, let's get started. So for years now to this point, guys have been getting told this whole thing about how girls always like the bad boy and the jerk and all that kind of stuff. But is it actually true? I'm going to talk to you about this from my personal experience, having been a nice guy, beta male type of guy, as I'm sure a lot of you have started off as. And then I went into this whole being the jerk, being the asshole phase. And I'm going to explain to you kind of how that went for me and kind of what I've discovered from doing that. Do they actually like this kind of guy? And is there a better way to go about it? So like I mentioned, I started off as this kind of like nice guy, beta male type of dude who did all the typical blue pill type of mistakes that guys make. And then I found out that apparently in order to be a man around women, it meant I had to be this like fucking jerk, right? I just needed to talk to them like crap. I needed to just be obnoxious, all these kinds of things. And to my shock, it actually worked. I was like, whoa, like I'm like I remember specifically one time, I literally did not know this girl at all. This is when I was first kind of learning like intersexual dynamics a while back. I was at this party in college and I literally walked up to this girl. She was like pretty attractive and I walked right up to her. Never met her in my life. She's got one of those jewels in her mouth and she's like hitting it. And I'm like, is that a jewel? And I rip it out of her mouth like while she's mid using it and just hit it right in front of her and just stare her down. And I'm not kidding. Like she just like grabs her arms around me, like flops all over me, like adoring me. I was like, this is insane. Like this is actually a thing. Like I'm just being disrespectful blatantly and they love it. And I'm like, okay, we got this. And like even the whole thing of being a jerk, it got me my first girlfriend actually just being kind of this asshole guy who didn't give a fuck. But that's not the end of the story. What I've figured out, guys, is that the women that actually like the jerk are usually like emotionally damaged women, and you'll find it out pretty quickly. Now, in a world where most of the guys, like 99% of the guys, are either nice guys or jerks, they will prefer the jerk because the jerk at least has a backbone and he has some sense of like alpha about him. But it's not that they actually like that guy, it's just that the choices aren't that great. You're only gonna find the girl who genuinely likes the dude who is just an ass who treats her like crap if she is like seriously got some emotional issues that she needs to work through. I bet this is a big relief for a lot of you guys out there because a lot of you aren't actually jerks and you're like, do I really have to be a jerk? Is it really that the guy who's the biggest asshole gets the most ass? And to my experience, that's actually not the case. Like it just kind of looks like it. And here's one of the ironies about the jerk is the jerk is supposed to be this guy who like doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, I'm like selfish kind of guy, right? No emotional attachment, all these things. But the irony is a lot of these guys who are being jerks are actually just nice guys who are trying to be a jerk to get girls. But the whole thing, they're like still changing their entire personality to get approval from women. They've just gone from buying flowers and doing all this simpy shit to just being a complete asshole. But the irony is they're basically still simping because they're doing their entire personality for a woman. So guys, you've literally changed your entire persona up to get approval from women. And that's a huge mistake if you're going to be a masculine man who's the center of his frame, right? You have to be the center of your own reality. You're not actually being a masculine dude just because you're an asshole. That has nothing to do with it. You're just putting certain aspects of a masculine man out there, and it's just kind of like you're doing like 5% of the things right, and that's way better than most people who are doing none of it right. I mentioned as well, like I said, the girl that I got my first girlfriend, I was being like a total asshole, cocky, like Mr. Cool guy, but underneath it all, I was still that nice guy. I just changed my entire persona to try and get approval from women. And so what do you think happened? I ended up falling through on the whole thing. Like you can't keep up that facade for very long because in the end, you've still got this like needy, emotional, weak center that you haven't actually addressed. You've just masked it with trying to act like you're this big bad dude. And also, as I mentioned, most of the women who are interested in this are going to be emotionally damaged. And I found that with women who weren't emotionally damaged, me being just a blatant asshole, it was funny for a little bit, but usually I ended up just being so like aggressively an asshole that I just turned them all off. And I'm like, oh, like I'm just being a badass. Like this is my thought process while I'm doing it. Oh, I'm just a badass. Like she's in my frame. She'll come crawling back. Like that's what every like dude who thinks he's hard on the red pill thinks. Like I'm just going to be as abrasive and rude as possible and she's just going to submit for it. And it's like that only works with women who are seriously emotionally damaged. If you have any self-respect, self-respect, you don't put up with it. If an employer did that to you, let's say the employer cut your pay, increased your hours, and treated you like crap, would you stick around? Only if you had no other options and you had no self-respect, and it's the same thing. And the other thing about the jerk is it comes from this perspective where a lot of guys really hate women. They're really mad about the way that women are because they wanted to be loved by this mommy figure as this nice guy, and their whole reality has been shattered, and they figured out that they have to grow up and actually be men, and they really don't like the way women are. So they're being jerks because they're actually angry and resentful, and I just don't approve of that in any way. These men are men who have historically struggled to attract women, and so they very much resent that, and they're angry about it, and so they're honestly like, there's a lot of venom in the things they say and the things they think about women, and it just really shows. And this is not, like, putting out that energy is not going to help you get back what you're looking for. Like, there's a lot of stuff thrown around in this, like, red pill space, which I believe the red pill is great. I think it's something that guys should take because I think it's a lot better place to be in than the apathetic state that most guys find themselves in. But the problem is a lot of people take it and then they just get angry, and they stay angry, and they say dumb things like you should cheat on a girl just so that you can establish dominance over her or frame or make her submit and all this kind of stuff. Like, that's just so, like, not right. And doing just lying, manipulating, all these kinds of things. I just don't believe that any of that is necessary if you actually feel good about yourself. And like I said, guys, in my personal experience, most of this comes from this perspective where you're trying to get the girl to like you. So you're acting like I'm this hard ass for cheating on the girl. But think about the perspective that comes at it if you do something like that. You literally went out of your way to cheat on that girl to get that girl to do something. She was still the focal point of the whole thing. You're doing everything in your life to try and get the approval of that woman. You've just warped yourself so much to think that treating her like absolute dog shit and trying to break her completely is the way to do that. Like, it's just as backwards as being the nice guy. And in my experience, it only works if the girl is, like, already emotionally damaged. As I've talked about recently about the way things have changed, how the rules of the game have changed, we need to accept that the way reality is not what our parents grew up with. It's not that romanticized image that we've been given. But that doesn't mean that you go out and treat people like dog shit. Like, that's never how it goes. You don't treat women like a pretty princess, and you don't treat them like crap either. They're just people like you. And I just think we've gone on this massive pendulum swing from nice guy to asshole. And, like, you need to find that center where you're just a masculine dude. And the masculine dude is not an asshole, but he's also not a nice guy. He's just a masculine dude, and he has certain aspects of the asshole, but it's not like the asshole, again, as I've already mentioned, he's doing everything to be an asshole to get the girl. So he's still not the center of his own life. And the funny thing about the hatred and the anger that so many guys feel that lead them to be the jerk is it blocks you from getting what you want in the end. Like, what you want is you want to be this masculine dude and connect with feminine women. That's what every guy's looking for out here. But how can you do that if you're so angry at what a woman is? If you can't accept them for who they are and how they carry themselves, if that bothers you so much and you're so mad at it, how can you actually accept and embrace it? It's just all a bunch of ego. You're just trying to do it for your own validation. You're not actually ever enjoying the experience. Being this masculine, like, complete man, it has nothing to do with being in an exclusive relationship. It has nothing to do with whether or not you do that. You can go date 100 girls. You can pick a wife. Like, that's completely your choice. Being a complete masculine man has to do with being secure in your masculinity so that you don't need to be an asshole so that the girl validates you and likes you, and you don't need to be a nice guy so that the girl validates you and likes you. That whole conversation's irrelevant because you feel good within yourself, so you don't need anything from the girl. It comes from a place of empowerment. You just make the choice that I like being a masculine guy, and I think that sex with attractive feminine women is enhancing to my life. The validation argument that I got to do all these power dynamics, it goes out the window once you can realize that you don't have to spend your whole life chasing after this to validate yourself. And the thing about so many of these, like, nice guy and jerk tactics is they have so much to do with manipulation, because you're manipulating because you feel like you need something outside of yourself. But the irony of that manipulative behavior is you're actually manipulating yourself, because you're never actually acting for yourself. You're acting to get from the other person. So you are completely manipulated by your own needs and your own inner feelings of lack. So you're never actually free. You're at the complete mercy of your own emotional instability. What you can do, guys, is learn to let go of this whole concept. You can learn to let go of the neediness and the weakness of the nice guy, and you can learn to let go go of the fake persona bad boy vibe that you've been taught you need to go approach. And that guy is seriously, he's just needy in the end as well. You can let go of that whole thing and decide to stop acting like you need something outside of yourself. And once you've let go of the whole thing, once you don't need to get anything, it now becomes a choice from a place of freedom. You are empowered. As a masculine man, you can just decide, I want to experience the feminine. I want to have the opposite in my life, and I want to enjoy that. And there's no anger, there's no resentment, there's no treating women like they're pretty princesses and denying reality, but there's no like, I gotta manipulate and do all this awful stuff. It's like, I understand what women are, I understand who I am as a man, and I'm not upset about any of it. It just is how it is. And then you've got the positive aspects of the bad boy that will naturally come in because they're part of who you are as a masculine man. A masculine man naturally has a backbone. He naturally makes decisions. He's naturally in his own frame. So if you're being a masculine dude, you'll get all those positive qualities of the jerk without all the insecure, weak qualities that come with it, which is just trying to do emotional damage to people and manipulate them. Ultimately, for me, I've just discovered that from going to the nice guy to the jerk, bad boy persona kind of thing to finally just being good with myself as a man, I've just figured out that you will naturally have the positive qualities of the bad boy jerk without the negatives. You'll just be who you want to be, and you'll be a lot happier with yourself, and your results will really start to show because your whole life isn't fixated on, I got to get this thing, because you're just good within, and everything will really start to show in that way. Guys, if you got something out of this video, give me a like, hit the subscribe button and bell icon so you don't miss new videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.